Well, this is very exciting because it's Sam Fender on Virgin Radio, the first station to play Sam Fender, and actually, after banging on about you for a year and a half, we've never met. So, because we were supposed to meet at a Latitude.
But I feel like I've known you for a long time.
Oh, that's very sweet of you to say so. I feel a definite kinship too. We were supposed to do this at Latitude, but you were having a nightmare apparently that day. What a year it must have been for you. You must be like in the eye of a storm.
Well, I didn't, before the camera started rolling, I asked you how long ago it was because I didn't know how long. I've lost all sort of, I have no idea or perception of time. It's all gone. It's melted in my brain.
You're flying through time and space.
I don't know what day it is. I actually don't know what day it is. What day is it?
It's Monday.
See, I didn't even know that.
Brilliant. I love it. So what
I
a
don't
man.
know where I am.
Oh my God, it just reminds me, I spent a couple of lovely hours with Liam Gallagher right back in the day, just after Definitely Maybe. So it was just a slightly different time, but it was similar time. And it was just, things were so mad, things had really, really kicked off. And I can see a definite similarity there. I mean, people are so buzzing about your album. There's been I haven't felt this big a buzz since, Definitely Maybe.
Oh, wow.
And
well, no pressure.
No pressure then. And so your further pressure from Rolling Stone magazine, you must have seen this. They described you as the UK's Bruce Springsteen, which I thought...
That's just silly.
Well, no, I thought that was actually spot on. Because Sam, if you think about it, I mean, aside from if you just look at it dispassionately, he's a solid working class lad, stands up for the little guy. There are a lot of similarities, like not just musically, kind of politically, in the way that he will stand up for the little guy in his songwriting. That he's a fearless songwriter like you that will address.
Except he's got 19 albums
Well,
and is a legend.
Well, but
I've not even got my first one out yet.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
I
fair
mean, that's
enough,
very
but
kind. No, but I as you can, I can't accept.
do you not see the similarity?
Well, in the sense that I rip off all of his songs, yes. I guess. I mean, he's one of my heroes. Probably my biggest hero.
Well, that's good to hear, because there's such a similarity, not just musically, but like I say, the way that you guys address the world, I think is really similar. And I feel as though the boss is a hereditary mantle. And while I would not wish death on such a great man, I feel as though when he goes, I think you're the apprentice and he's the boss. And when he goes, you're going to be the new boss.
When he goes, you won't see me for a while. Like, I will need a lot of time to get over that one.
To get over.
I've had this. I'm kind of getting this, like, obviously with like Bowie and everybody dying. Like all of the great legends and Prince and everyone, like, ever since that year, now I'm like, I'm terrified for all of the other legends.
Sweating for the boss.
Yeah, it's scary. Well, not just the boss. I mean, the boss he's kind of an easier one to not worry about because he's quite healthy and he tends to run and he looks like he keeps himself in. I mean, he's in better shape than me and he's like 70 or something. But yeah, I do sweat about it. Not for him, but just for all of them. You know what I mean?
Well. We're going to go into it track by track, but I've had a listen, and I really nobody saw this coming. I love it. I mean, it is what I love about it is that it's a timeless record. This could have been made any time from when digital desks started, I guess, in the late 70s. It's a really timeless record. Did you approach it like that? Did you want to make it like that, or are you just winging it?
This record's it's very kind of special and unique in the sense that I will never do another record like this, purely because it was written over such a long time frame. Because there's songs on it that I wrote when I was 19, and then I'm 25.
Right.
So there's 6 years worth of of developing music in the whole thing. And you can really hear the difference, I think, through different tracks. You can hear. I mean, some of the vocal takes that I did were done 4 years ago as well.
And you didn't re-record those?
No. We did. So some of the tracks on there come from the demos that we did.
Wow.
I built on top of them. I recorded loads of stuff on top of it and made it grand and obviously and all that stuff.
Yes.
But some of these demos started off in the shed, in my manager's shed, or in my producer's flat in Heaton in Newcastle. There was a little. I went in there when I first met him. I went into his house because my guitarist basically he worked in the studio as the T-boy, and that's how he got to know Tom. And Tom was like, "I'm going to quit music." He's like, "I'm sick of it," and he's like, "I'm sick of doing the bands that are coming in and out of this place." And he went, "Oh, you've got to meet me mate Sam. He needs like a producer. He needs someone to." So I humped me amp into his front room in his flat in Heaton and played like it was me last night on earth, all of the songs that I had. And he was like, "Right, let's get to work." And we did it on like a rubbish little M-Box 50 quid thing through a cheap as out mic, like a £50 mic, into his Mac, like on Logic. And we did You're Not the Only One. That was back then. 2 People. The beginnings of Play God and the beginnings of all of them tracks around then in Heaton, and between there my mum's front room in the flat where we lived on Verne Road in Shields, and in the shed in my manager's house. So yeah, so a lot of it started all back then, and we used the same demos and just turned them into proper records.
That's great, because a lot of bands and artists fall into that trap of demo chasing, of trying to capture a vibe.
Well, this is what we said. We said there's no point. Like I'm a true believer of don't fix something if it isn't broken.
Yeah,
like
Firestarter.
if you catch what did you say there?
Firestarter was a demo.
Was it?
Yeah, they used the demo.
But the thing is that there's a beauty from that first moment when you're really into a song, when you first write it and you're like, oh God, you've got all the fire in your belly. You tend not to get that after the demo's done.
Yeah.
A lot of it ends up in the demo. So now when we record, that's how we record. Like most of my vocal takes tend to be the first or second. With the exception of like a couple of drop-ins.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For like little fluffed lines and things like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time we tend to get the bulk of the stuff within the first couple of takes, because that's where the energy is. Like that's when I'm like passionate about it, you know.
Yeah, well, that's good of your. You mentioned your producer. Let's big him up, because unsung
Bramwell
heroes and all
Bronte.
that. Who is tying all of this together?
He's Bramwell Bronte, or Tom Lewis. But Bramwell is his name on all of the credits.
Oh, he has a nom de plume.
Yeah,
Excellent.
But I've just basically ruined his anonymity there. He's called Tom.
Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, but he's from the Wirral. He's a squirrel.
Squirrel from the Wirral.
Yeah,
well, Tom, chapeau. Hats off, mate.
Yeah, and he supports Liverpool, and he's just a top lad. He wears a flat cap, and he loves reformed pork products like pork pies. And
James from the Manic Street Preachers has a weakness for exactly the same thing.
He hunts for pork pies. Like he actually he makes a conscious effort to go and find the more exquisite pork pies out on the market. He's so funny and but he's a genius.
He's about to get a lot of free Melton Mowbrays, I think.
I deserve
right, so Sam, I know you got places to go. You're an incredibly busy man. So let's get into this.
Not too busy
record.
for you, Eddie.
Oh, mate, that's so lovely of you to say. So let's go. I haven't looked forward to one of these album run-throughs as this much since the 1975, actually.
I was really excited.
But that was very different, because I've loved you from the first moment that I saw you. But 1975, I didn't get him, and I told him you've seen that interview.
Yeah.
I told him at the top of it, I don't get your band. I'm not a fan of your band.
But that album's amazing.
You've made the album of the year.
Yeah,
and I think it's the album of the decade. Actually.
It's outrageous.
Yeah, incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, a brief inquiry into online relationships aside.
I awkwardly, for every time I see Matt, I cannot help but fanboy him really hard.
Oh, it's hard not to. He's
seen him the other day.
So lovable.
I seen him at the GQ Awards and that, and I just went over and I was just like, yeah, that album, man, it's just ridiculous. It's just like your class, But his parents are Geordies, and when I was in Japan,
oh, that's right, yeah.
I was in Japan, right, and I got interviewed off this Japanese interviewer, and she was like, oh, I was speaking to Matty Healy before this. And she was like, and he's told me to tell you something. And obviously it was something Geordie. And then she had it written down like the phonetics, but in Japanese.
Brilliant.
And she was going like, I read son. I was just like, from Matty Healy. She's like, yeah. He says, read son, or read son.
Son. Well, yeah, there's the Alvida St. Pet,
It's hilarious.
the Alvida St. Pet connection. But anyway,
sorry, I'll let
Matty aside, but I feel like I could talk to you about that all day. But let's get into Hypersonic Missiles. And first track, title track, and it's a song that you come in on the first beat, the second beat of the song. It's like you're out of the trap really fast.
Yeah.
And so tell me about Hypersonic Missiles.
Well, for a start, I'll explain about the title of the album as well. I wrote the song, and I was like, I needed a title, and Hypersonic Missiles was my favourite track at the time. And I was like, I'm going to call it Hypersonic Missiles, and I could have give everyone the spiel about how it encapsulates the times, or is a piece of jargon from our time, which is terrifying and exciting at the same time. And I thought, maybe it's encapsulated, but I genuinely just picked it because I thought it sounded cool. There's nothing like metaphorical. There's no concept that runs through the album with it. So I picked it for that reason. How I wrote the song was I was reading a paper, and it said scientist leaks hypersonic missile to NATO, Russian scientist, and essentially it's just this missile that Russia had at the time, which travels faster than Mach 5 or up to Mach 11 or something mental, which is like 5 or something like however many times the speed of sound it was. 5 times the speed of sound.
Mind-boggling.
And travels at 2 kilometers a second, and it takes 6 seconds from its launch to hit its target or something like that. And can carry warheads.
Right.
And can it be shot down by American satellite defense systems? That was the most important bit of information.
Right.
So it's essentially this unstoppable thing that was leaked to the world. Obviously America will have them now and all that.
Yes, of course.
Everyone catches up. And then so that just terrified us. I was like, it's kind of really, really exciting as well that there's something that terrifying. There's a bit of jargon in the papers that a bit of military jargon that was being so freely pasted on the front page of a paper, and I was just like, what sort of world do I live in? And then prompted us to write this sort of story about this cat from the perspective of this character who's a complete nutter, conspiracy theory believing, junk food eating, addicted to all the fruits of the Western world, total little.
Is it an American?
Loosely based on myself.
Okay.
But the character is the premise of the song is essentially about love. It's a love song, and it's about this person being genuinely terrified and thinks the world's going to end. Is convinced that the world is on its way out.
Yeah. Any
minute now. So has this whole confession of love for this person. Is a bit of an outsider, and that's just essentially the premise of the song. It's just that it's kind of that whole thing of it doesn't matter how kind of mental this world is or how dire it gets. And I mean, obviously with everything that's going on with Brexit and all that, it's quite terrifying. And that's essentially what it's about. Just a celebration of life and the time that you have left with those you love, regardless of whether Armageddon is around the corner or not. You just go out and grab it by the.
I think some of the best love songs are the ones that you don't know are love songs. The love songs in disguise.
Well, the only time it ever becomes a love song is when he goes, I believe in what I'm feeling and I'm firing for you. This world is going to end, but till then I'll give you everything I have. And that's kind of like the penultimate line in the song, I think.
Yeah, so it ends with love, which is a nice thing.
Yeah, and a load of oh-ohs and a massive sax solo.
Yes, of course. Yeah, well, yeah, you're not disguising the Bruce Springsteen comparisons.
Yeah, and the glockenspiels as well and all that.
Yeah, well, actually, all of which brings us to The Borders.
Yes.
Track 2. Now, this sounds like it was painful to write. Was it? It sounds like a friend of yours that you're perhaps writing, or you're putting your mind into somebody that you knew and perhaps that you grew up with, and it sounds like there were not happy times there. And
so The Borders is first of all, it's a story about 2 kids who are raised like brothers, and I'm not going to beat it around the bush. I took most of my songs are fictional,
Yeah.
but a lot of them are based in truth or based in something. And The Borders has particularly got a lot of truth in it. There's a lot of things from my own life that I put into it. But naturally, I tend to write about characters. I detach it a little bit from myself.
Yeah.
Because I find that easier. But I mean, there's a lot of honesty in there, and there was a lot of things in there that are from my own life. And it came at a time where it was just about the time of winning the Brit back in the last year, and we just hammered it touring wise. Like, we'd not stopped. We'd done 160, 70, whatever shows it was. And I was knackered. My voice was really knackered. And
that's right. Yeah, you had a little.
No, this was before. This was the first time. The time a couple of months ago was the second time I ever burnt out. This is the first time I burnt out, which was last year. But it happens. People do. You know, we're not. I'm not. You're not a superhero. You know what I mean? And if you're singing Hypersonic Missiles every night.
Well, if you're belting them out like you do, like a young Bonner.
I don't sing lightly. I can't.
Yeah, man, you belt them.
So it takes its toll. Eventually, you've got to put in time to rest. So I came to the end of that time, and yeah, just a lot of things were happening at home, and a few things happened in my life at the time that just triggered a load of memories and a load of things, which just prompted us to write this song. And I wrote this song about these things.
It's an epic.
Based around my life.
It sounds like an epic story. It comes across like a gritty British, like a long gritty British film. You know what I mean? You know, one of those.
Well, the song is in itself. It spans. It starts off with the kids being the two boys being 7, 8, and then it ends with them in a nightclub.
Yeah.
Basically. Like loggerheads, like
one of them being pinned to a wall
outside of a club.
Yeah.
And it just all goes a bit pear-shaped. And the song's essentially about, a lot of it's about, as well as me kind of coming to terms with the fact that I'm doing well, because my life's changed considerably since 3 years ago. You know, I was on benefits 3 years ago.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Living with my mother, and we're both. You know, there was times where it was tough, and there was times where it was fine. You know, I haven't spent my entire life like in hardship, you know what I mean? Like, the beginning of my life was very comfortable. My mum was a nurse, and my dad was working he was an electrician, and then he was a college teacher. I mean, so the start of my life was actually quite peachy, and we had very good Christmases, and we had a posh Christmas tree and all that. So I'm not ever trying to like play out the sort of like poor northern boy thing, but when I was living with my mother a couple of years ago, it was tough. We had sort of between the ages of 17 to now was financially hard, and we did struggle. And I think out of that time came all of the songs. Really, like I didn't really write anything worth anything until that time in my life, I think.
That's the thing, and I've experienced this myself. You know, I've been in band since I was 17, 18, and my lyrics were frankly until actually, in all honesty, until I wanted to kill myself. And when I got to that place, then suddenly I was writing these lyrics, and all my bandmates were like, Jesus, Eddie, these lyrics are out of the park. We're going to have to raise our game musically. You know, this is amazing. And the point I'm trying to make is that isn't it lovely how you can turn things around, and how a lot of great art does come from hardship, you know, and the struggle, like with wine. People who struggle, I think, are more interesting. Wine that struggles is definitely better wine, and songs that come out of struggle, art that come out of struggle, feels more,
I think
real to me.
That's the thing. Like, it definitely shows. I mean, a lot of these songs were, as I said, like, some of them came from when I was 19, so it was all around that time, and I was the worst barman on the planet. Working in this pub. I failed my A-levels. Failed in the eyes of me dad, and failed in the eyes of myself as well, from what I wanted. You know what I mean? And it was just me and my mum in the flat, and I used to just kind of spend my days and watching daytime telly.
Yeah.
It was just like, and you kind of like the monotony of like all my mates had like a load of kids that I knew had all went off to go and do, they went off to do university or they went off and had apprenticeships, and I had like no direction and no money, and I was at bar work. I was working in the call centre. I worked in a call centre for a little bit, and I sucked at that. I sucked at like every job that I did. Probably because I knew that's not what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to do music, but I had kind of no real direction. And then it just, and then I was lucky, and it was genuinely my manager who looked after Ben Howard. He still looks after Ben Howard. He looks after the two.
Yeah.
He walked into the pub where I was working when I was 18, and my bar manager told us to get a guitar out and go and play. And I did, and he took us on there and then. And
this is Owen, right?
Yeah, and I don't know why, because the songs I had when I was 18 sucked. But I think he just saw that how desperate I was, because I think he could see that I could sing and stuff, and he could see that I had something in us. It was because I was loud. I think that's what got his attention, because I went out of the bar and just went like, bah!
Sure, desperation wasn't it, Sam. I'm sure it was probably more to do with the fact that you've got an incredible voice that probably reminded him of a young Bono.
No, but I think that I was so hungry for it. Like that showed. I think when he first met us. I mean, he came back a week later with Ben Howard's guitarist, and then they came and listened to us in the pub, and he was like, right, we're gonna go down to London and do some recording. And I went into the bogs and cried my eyes out, like, because I was like, this is actually happening. Like,
yeah.
And I didn't know what was happening. Like, I went into literally was in the cubicle in the low lights, like proper, like ugly sobbing.
Boring.
like that.
like the love of your life just left you.
Yeah, I was genuinely, I couldn't control, just because it's just been a proper rocky couple of years, and it was just like, it was such a lift. It was mad.
You're not afraid of emotions, are you?
No.
It's not. I generally, I mean, just from your songwriting,
I think it's best to be just kind of like. I'm learning more and more as I get older. There's no shame in being honest about it, is there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, yeah, you're.
Don't get us wrong. I'll have an anxiety attack tonight about what I've said to you. Like, oh God. Or when it gets like misprinted.
Well, nothing
in the local paper.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well. Oh well, no, okay. No. Well, let's crack on, because we could probably make this whole program about the Borders, but we've got to get through the album. And we're on track 3 now, and White Privilege. So wow, I've got notes that I've written on each song, and he went there. He mentioned the B word. Your emotional fearlessness, which I feel you've always had since I first saw you. It's not just an emotional fearlessness. You are sticking it to the man. By the sounds of it on this one.
It's my Tenacious D song. No, stick it to the man, Neosis. White Privilege came at the very end of recording the album. I did it 2 weeks before the end of finishing. Like, that wasn't originally a part of the album plan. We recorded everything else, and then I had this song. I just wrote all of these lyrics. It kind of just fell out. Like a rant, and then we just recorded it there and then, and we did like loads of BVs, and I kind of made it this big choral thing, and it happened in about 4 hours, and then that was it done. It was the fastest thing we recorded for the whole album. It just happened like that, because it's essentially more like spoken word than it was like a song. You know what I mean? But then I made it all chorally and atmospheric and stuff. And yeah, it just came out of nowhere. And then we were like, right, that's going on the record, because it's about Brexit. You know, Brexit's happening now, so we better put it on now.
Yeah.
And then that was it, really.
Yeah, that's good. It's cool when they just happen like that. They sort of come out of the ether, because that balances. Because there's probably 1 or 2 songs on here that you will have struggled with or went through maybe different versions of. And,
oh God,
and tweaked endlessly.
Yeah.
Well, actually, out of interest, what was so if that was the one the shortest one, what was the most problematic song then on the record, would you say? The one that took the longest time to realise your vision of?
Oh God. Well, I don't know about realise my vision. The one that took the longest to do was Call Me Lover.
Yeah.
Because I did 2 versions of it.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that
Oh,
was the
yeah, right.
That was
Well,
that was the original version that I did when I was 19.
oh,
So,
really?
like I wrote
Oh,
that song when I was 19, and then that was the one
Well-
that ended up on the record is the one that I did like years and years ago, because it's
Well-
like it's just a pop song essentially that I wrote when I was a kid.
Well, let's get to that, and I'm looking forward to getting to that. So, okay, let's crack on to Dead Boys, and I wanted to share with you how I not discovered you, because obviously Virgin played you, so I was aware of you, but when I was at Latitude, where we were supposed to meet, that really hot Latitude, not this last summer, but the summer before, I came out to get something to eat on Sunday, I think it was, very dusty. And I was heading to the burger stand, I think, and I just saw you setting up. I didn't know it was you. Saw this band setting up, and then you start singing. And I stopped, and I turned back. Just your voice just stopped me in my tracks, literally. Turned back, and saw you play that whole set. Ignored my the hunger that I was so hungry. I hadn't eaten any breakfast or whatever. And the thing is, you completely took my mind off the fact that I was hungry, and I just thought at the beginning of a set, this is really interesting. Wow, it's a classic band setup, really good looking singer, like really great songs, really like beautifully arranged, really good band, like, and these songs are really like popping off that stage.
Yeah.
And then there was this moment quite early on, maybe 2/3 of the way through the set, and you just went, this is a song about what it's like in my I'm from, was it North Shields? North Shields, and this is about like what it's like where I'm from, and you started talking about suicide, and you played this song, and I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it now, because it was like, oh my God, he's really eloquently addressing suicide, and this is a thing that's really close to my heart. I don't know if you know this, but I've been working with a charity called Calm for the last 12 years, since my mate Charlie Haddon from Uela Swimming Pool sadly left us at Pukkelpop Festival. And here I am at this other festival, and I obviously I knew it was you, and you were addressing suicide in such a emotional, honest, brave way. I just was completely riveted, and from that moment on, I was like, I'm in love with this guy's music, and because this is everything.
Thank you.
Like this song is everything to me. It was my sort of real entry point to becoming a massive Sam Fender fan.
Oh, thanks.
And so tell me about the song, because this is a very important song.
Yeah, I think Dead Boys was the first song that kind of really connected with my fans, essentially. Well, it was the first time I noticed like people noticing me. You know what I mean? And it was a song that I almost didn't release, purely because I lost a friend to suicide, and I lost another friend, a person who was well known in my hometown, who was very close to my manager as well. So that there was two people that I knew that had done it within the same year. And then it became, I wrote songs in my mate's house, who, I used to write songs in his conservatory, like, in the back, and then so it was just kind of like, I wrote it purely as a reaction to that, and that was all. There's not many lines in Dead Boys. It's 2 lines in the first verse, a chorus, and then 2 lines in the second verse, and that's it.
Yeah, it is beautifully simple.
It doesn't really. It doesn't have any answers for anything, like everything that I write. And it just explains the feeling that everybody else has when somebody that they know does that. And there's that, and there's one line in the I don't know if you've heard the prelude, Dead Boys prelude as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's got the 12-inch.
Well, there's that one line that in there as well, which is a part of the Dead Boys song as a whole, because it says, I'm firing on 3 cylinders, if only I'd known what you meant. And it was the last thing he said to my friend,
Oh man,
Rich. And obviously a car's got 4 cylinders, and Richie didn't think much of it. He just, it's just devastating. And so I wrote that song, and then I didn't want to release it because I was like, I didn't want to be seen as like capitalising on the tragedies of losing a friend, or just capitalising on suicide in general, because it's not, it's not it's not an easy one to talk about, and it's not something that most people do talk about anyway. But
there's stigma around it. It's
still mental, innit? And so yeah, for a while I recorded it, and I was like, God, I love this song. Like, I really, really love this song as a song as well.
Yeah.
Just as the melody and as the, you know what I mean. It was therapeutic and cathartic for us to write it.
Yeah.
It made us come to terms with things. It made me kind of articulate things in a way that I couldn't in a normal conversation. I wasn't actually saying anything in the song more articulate than what I would say in real life, but just the way that song kind of carried its thing made us, I don't know, just helped us.
Yeah, and obviously playing it live.
And then we played it to friends, to my management and to the label people. And then they were like, everyone that's played it to, it was just like, I lost my dad. And I'd be like, I've worked with you. I didn't know you'd lost your dad. Like, you know what I mean? I'd be like, and then you realise the stigma, because then there's all these people that you know who are opening up to us about it, about their experiences of it. And I was like, Christ, nobody talks about it. And then, because you've experienced it, you become more sensitive towards it. And then I looked at the stats and then seen that it was the biggest killer of men under the age of 45 and takes 84 men's lives a week in the UK.
Yeah, 12 a day, yeah.
You know, and that was obviously staggering. And then the Northeast is also like its rates are bad as well. You know what I mean? Middlesbrough and various other places is a hotbed for depression and suicide, but obviously it's probably to do with other things like economic stuff and you know what I mean?
Of course.
But that obviously all bleeds into politics and things like that. And my dad, you know, I spoke to my dad about it because I was kind of struggling, and I was like, Dad, did you ever experience like that sort of stuff? And my dad, me and my dad, I don't see him that often. He lives in a different country.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, he's like in the 80s. He says, you know, when Thatcher closed down all the industry in Newcastle, he had mates that hung themselves.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't afford to look after their kids, or they couldn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then suddenly it was like, actually no, this is a good thing. This is like, my dad's just opened up to us about that. Right. He had a friend that hung himself and all this sort of stuff, and I was like, I never knew about that. My dad would never tell us about that, and it took us all the way through my life to experience it myself. And I mean, I experienced suicide at 13. Like, it's not just been a recent thing. It's been a part of my life since I was 13.
Yeah.
Because it stays with you. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Suicide doesn't happen to the people who kill themselves. It happens to the family and friends.
That is very wise. Yeah,
and,
absolutely right.
And so yeah, we released it, and since then I was so terrified. I was like, this is going to either go one or two ways, and it's done more good than it's done harm. I know that for sure.
Of course.
And I mean, there was a guy, I don't know if did you know about the BBC 5 Live thing that happened when I was doing it. I did an interview with Nihal. I always get his name wrong.
Lovely,
Nihal.
yeah.
He's a legend. I always pronounce his name wrong, and I'm always terrified because every time I say him, I go, Nihal.
Yeah, you got it right. He's Nihal. Yeah, that's right.
It's just because I'm a Geordie, I say everything wrong. Yeah, we were talking on the radio, doing Dead Boys, and I played Dead Boys, and then we were speaking about male suicide, and there was a guy, coincidentally had his radio on. He was driving to go run his car off the road. He was going to end his life, and he heard Dead Boys, and he stopped the car and listened to the interview and all of that, and listened to the talking about the fact that blokes don't talk, and I kind of spoke about the way I was raised with the whole boys don't cry, macho, stiff upper lip, British.
Of course.
But I think that's a British thing. I don't think it's a Northern thing. I think it's just all over the country.
Yeah.
And he stopped the car, said, we know this because he sent me an email 6 months later. Said that in the email that he was, you know, crying for like a couple of hours on the side of the road, drove back, went to his wife, went, I need help. I'm really struggling. Sorted it out. Now he's still there. He's still got his kids. He's still with his wife. He's on the mend, and he's getting the help that he needs. And he came to a gig in London, and I met him. I had no idea what to say. Like, it was because obviously I'm not, I'm never going to overestimate the clout of my job. I'm not a doctor or like I'm not somebody who saved lives or anything. And we're just entertainers, musicians primarily. But that was like the one moment in my life where like a song connected in a way that it actually did something positive, and it wasn't suddenly my job wasn't this like vacuous, self-serving, self-promotion sort of thing that can make you feel very lonely. It suddenly had like clout for a moment, and this man I hugged this man I've never met in my life because he turned his car on and decided not to kill himself because he'd heard us on the radio playing a song, and that changed my life. And Neil was like, it was just outrageous, and we did a whole recorded interview and promoted that. And the lad was saying on the interview as well, he was like, even us talking about it now could be helping somebody else, you know. And
that song will continue to say.
So yeah, I think Dead Boys it's given me my most proud moment in my life because of that. You know, it doesn't matter what happens in my career, whether I sell records or whatever happens, or you know, whether I get slagged off by Pitchfork or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you never know what will happen. Like that's the best thing that could have ever happened in my career. Yeah. And still, if everything stops tomorrow, it's fine because that happened, and that's class. You know what I mean? Like,
that's why I said it's an important song, and it always was, and always will be. And you've always got that.
Thanks,
sound.
Man.
You know, it is amazing. You know, when you open up, and writing a song like that is effectively opening up.
Aye.
You inspire people. You get people to admit, like you said, and it happened with me. Friends, colleagues, people come out of the woodwork going, I tried to kill myself 3 times. And I don't, why didn't you tell me? Like, we mates, like, I didn't know this. And you know, I'm on happy pills now. And you're telling me that, you know, you wanted to kill yourself has inspired me to sort of come out, and I'm telling everyone now. And that's what you've done, man. And big up. Like, it's just incredible.
Thanks, bro.
It's such an important song. So, again, we could talk. We'd spend the whole time talking about that one song, but we've got to crack on. So you're not the only one. You mentioned that this was a really old song.
Yeah.
Very cool drum machine sound at the beginning. Yeah. It kind of sounds. Yeah. It kind of sounds different. It's got a sort of different vibe when it starts, but then of course it kicks off.
Yeah.
It absolutely kicks off. So yeah. So
well, I wanted it to be I wanted it to have that when the full band comes in. It makes it like what. It completely changes the dynamic of the thing. Because at first it's kind of like you don't have. It's quite left with the drum machine at the beginning. It's not like. It's like 2 different songs when the band fully kicks in. But yeah, no, that song's really old. It was one of the ones from when I was about 20, and it's about. It's another one kind of about mental health. It's about one of my closest mates back home, who I've been friends with since I was 10, and he was fostered by a family who lived around the corner from his legends, Steve and Sharon, absolute legends. And Joe's my best mate. Yeah, he was my best mate from 10 onwards. And he's a total nightmare. Like, he's an absolute nightmare. And we'll get together, and he's one of them mates that I've done everything with. Like, we've blacked each other's eyes. We've done,
one of them.
He's headbutted us half. But we love each other. And yeah, he was basically at the time going through. He was having a really tough time with his growing up. He's not had it easy. And that song's just basically about us coming out the other end of him coming out the other end of a dark place, and me kind of coming out the other end of a dark place, and going out on a night out and proper tearing the guts out of Newcastle, and that's genuinely the premise of it. There's nothing much more to it than that. Yeah. But it's a celebratory song about you know, loving your mate, really. And kind of, it's just a celebration of my friendship with that guy.
Well, I'll get back to mental health. Mates are so important, you know, and often the first step, you know, if you're struggling in any way, talk to a mate.
Yeah,
you know,
totally.
That's the best thing. But I tell you what, I really loved. There was a real treat in if you listen to this, especially in headphones, which I did last night. I picked up some nuances that I hadn't picked up when I was listening to it, you know, in a normal way. And there's a lovely guitar when it kicks off. There's a guitar that's lurking in the background. that's kind of in the background. It reminds me of the Pretenders. It's just the sound of it. There's this
Which
lovely
one is it?
jangly in that.
Oh, when
in
the
that
drums
song.
come in.
Yeah. There is a guitar lurking. There's a guitar line lurking in there that's just kind of jangly, almost like it's like on a Rickenbacker or something. And it's
Is it the
yeah,
the main one when when the whole band comes in?
Yeah. It's just I couldn't sing you the melody of it now, but
It's probably just another Smiths rip-off. Like, that's what I tend to do with my guitar parts.
well, that's not a bad thing, you know.
They're
Johnny
all just Johnny Marr, like B-sides.
Yeah, but it was nice getting reminded of the Pretenders, because you know very few bands do remind me of
wild, that.
Best Thing Out of Hereford. Okay, so cracking on now to Play God, and so this was an early one as well.
Yeah.
But then of course when it came back around, felt like maybe this was this the tipping point for you? I remember seeing you on an American chat show playing that song.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay, yeah, Sam's on his way now. Like they're all getting it now.
Yeah, it was. Play God was the first song that triggered my manager into gear. Owen, we had all of these songs. We were going to do an EP. This was the original thing. Like, we're sat in the shed. We had You're Not the Only One.
Yeah.
That was going to be the lead track of my first EP.
Yeah.
Right, which is mental now that it's not even out still.
Yeah.
Right, so this is like going back 4 years. We were sat in the shed. I had You're Not the Only One. I had Two People. I had something else that we don't play anymore.
Yeah.
And then I was like, Owen was like, have you got any other tracks? Like anything that you haven't played with yet? And I was like, well, I've got this like little weird thing that doesn't really sonically fit with the rest of it. And I was very like kind of paranoid that all of my stuff isn't cohesive. And it isn't. I've just had to learn that, like, that's just part of the way I am. Like, I write so many different things, like different style stuff. And I started going tick, 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 just on the guitar on my own. And I had like the first couple of verses, and I was, you were cracking all your fingers in the shed. And I like kind of looked up, and Owen and Bramwell were just like,
jaws on
and
the floor.
They were like, the rest of the EP's rubbish. they were like, that's the one. And I was like, oh, it's not. I don't think it's the one. I wasn't convinced at all by Play God. And they were like, that is the one, man. They were one. And then we recorded it. And then when I started putting the drums on, because I kind of, at the time, I was listening to like Stone Roses stuff. And then I was listening to War Paint.
Oh yeah.
You know, Love Is to Die. And then it goes tick 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 tick
Yeah.
tick tick. It's got that rhythm. Tick, tick,
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes into this. And then I was like, I was sitting there, I was going, oh, that's class that. And then I think it was like a couple of days later, I was going tick 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 tick. I wanted something with that kind of mathy rhythm.
Yeah. Tribal.
Yeah, and then
you made it a bit more tribal.
And then the drums became. Then the drums kind of were the thing that charged through that song. It's all on the toms, you know.
Yeah.
And then we recorded that, and it was like, all right, okay, that's the tune. And still to this day, like a lot of my friends say that I haven't written a good song since, and it was my first one.
That's harsh.
I've got my mate's dad. I was throwing the cover. I was with my mate's dad, and he was just like, "Yep." He's like, "That's still the one. You haven't written a one better than that since." And I was like, "That's my first song."
Well, is there any point in going on further?
So yeah. No, but I was 20 and I'd just read 1984, and I was kind of like obsessed with, and because I'm a little paranoid, I was obsessed with the whole government surveillance thing at the time, and there was all that phone hacking stuff was going on at the time and all of that, you know what I mean? So then all the lyrics kind of just became about this ominous world where the higher government are watching me and they have control over everybody from the people to the Queen.
Yeah.
It's very dramatic.
Yes. Well,
like
no shortage of drama in your set. So cracking on now we're on track 7 now. That sound. Mm-hmm. So another one that we know, big groove, huge
drums.
groove. And what do you? It sounds like you're writing from the heart, as always you are.
Yeah.
What are you trying to say with this?
That was one of the first songs that I wrote, which was actually about myself, because a lot of the tunes that I write, I tend to write about other people, or I find it easier to be honest about everybody else apart from myself. You know what I mean? Because I think it is easier to be honest about other people. So that sound was the first time that I kind of wrote something that was just directly about it was a celebration of music, that is, or what music means to us, or when it pulls us out of the dark. And it's essentially about how it's the only thing that I've ever had. It's the only thing that I've ever been good at. When I was a kid, like I sucked at football. I was kind of average at school. I was just like a little chubby kid that liked Star Wars. With long hair, so obviously I got absolutely tortured in school.
Yeah.
But then I got guitar, and I started playing my guitar when I got guitar when I was like 9 or something, and then that became my thing. And then by 13, it was like I had an identity, and I wasn't just the chubby kid that liked Star Wars anymore. I was the kid with the guitar. And I still got absolutely tortured, but at least I had a guitar, you know what I mean?
Chubby kid that liked Star Wars.
Yeah, I was the chubby kid that liked Star Wars, that had a guitar, and I very much am still that chubby kid that likes Star Wars, that has a guitar, you know, that's my thing. So that's the thing, but obviously the lyrics and stuff, it's kind of, the serotonin stole the moment and all that's all about waking up from a horrendous kind of regretting the daft things that you do growing up, but knowing that when I'm in that place, or when I'm in a dark hole, it's always been the tunes that have pulled us out of it. Or when I'm getting, you know, a load of spiel spat into me ear from some A&R man at the time, you know, when we're getting signed, and you know, there's a lot of fueled divvies in the industry.
Oh yeah,
chatting in your ear, telling you what you want to hear. Or like they've read your like, you know, your press bio, and they try to regurgitate it to you in a way that's gonna make you sign a record deal. Yeah. Like, you sound like Jeff Buckley mixed with Bruce Springsteen. Did you know that? I'm just like, oh God, here again. You know what I mean? I was just like,
yeah.
I can't. So yeah, I was I kind of, that was that song was about that, and it's also about how music keeps us grounded, because when it's the only thing that keeps us grounded.
Yes,
that line
of course.
Is it comes from, because until I sort of met Owen, I was just a lad. Like, I was 18 every day. Every day I like a lot of and various other things, and I was like, I didn't do anything. Like, I really didn't do anything.
Except write the old song.
Apart from like be the worst barman on the planet and like play guitar to people and get, like, that's all I did. But I think a lot of kids kind of end up they get caught in the same rotation, you know what I mean? I think it's very easy to have that when you don't see your prospect, or if you don't have prospect, you know, if you can't see sort of like a future for things.
At least that gives you time to think about it.
Well, I was just lucky, genuinely.
Like,
he walked into the pub and essentially saved me life. Like, it turned me life round.
Thank you, Owen.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, we get to track 8 and Saturday now. Every album, you know, around about this point, there is a break, you know, a break, and it feels as though that the album's been, you know, high tempo, some big beats, lots going on, and then suddenly there's a nice break with Saturday. Feels like, you know, the pressure's come down, the accelerators come down a little bit, and you've got like what sounds like an anthem for the working man. You know, that it's that that band from Hounslow, Hardfire, had that whole living for the weekend thing. You know, it's a well trodden path songwriting wise. You know,
totally.
It's the end of the week. It's that, isn't it?
I wrote it and I was like, oh, this would be a great pop song for somebody. I was like, I'm going to give this to someone.
Oh, right. Who were you thinking of giving it to?
Anybody. I was like, this is a good pop song. And it kind of sounds like, I kind of production-wise went down this sort of Beatlesy, sort of wanted to have like a Beatlesy sort of George Harrison-y rockin' sort of sound, but with the beginning almost feels like, with the drums, sound like Alabama Shakesy or like Black Keys or something, you know what I mean? But basically I played it to Rich O'Donovan, the man who signed us.
Yeah.
And he just went, there's absolutely no way that you're putting that on anybody else's album. He's like, that's going on yours. I was just like, right, well. I was
Good
like,
A&R, man.
And no, I love it. Like it's really good fun, and it's kind of like it's a big sort of two fingers to 0-hour contracts and jobs and kind of all of the injustices of government over the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And it comes from that place of like, of genuinely, when you do live, it is a living for the weekend song. You know what I mean? It's essentially it's the 2019 answer to that song. You know what I mean? If anything, yeah.
It's so relatable, as is, you know, and that's one of the things about your music. I think it's so relatable.
Thank you.
You know, I think people just really can empathise with it.
Yeah.
And absolutely that track. So cracking on, we get to track 9, and Will We Talk now. This was another record of the week for me. In fact, I debuted this one on Virgin Radio. And
Thank you very much.
So, mate, absolute pleasure. You communicate so well, don't you, in your songwriting, the way, you know, we're talking now, or in between the songs, you know, you've got this thing that I remember before you cracked it, you reminded me a bit of Gary Lightbody from Snow Patrol. Right at the beginning, when
he's a nice lad.
he's one of the nicest guys in the world. When nobody gave a about Snow Patrol.
Yeah.
It's only me and Colin Murray pretty much in the whole world.
Aye.
And I would go and see him in playing pubs, 2 people in there.
Yeah.
But he had this thing that you've got, which is in between the songs. Real superstar between the songs that could, you know, take the piss out of themselves, at the same time be really serious, and then, or, you know, and then in the next moment, you know, they could hold an audience like with just what they were saying, you know, in between the songs. I felt as though you've got that. You're a great communicator. Are you as good a communicator do you feel like you're as good a communicator in life as you are with your songs? Because you communicate so well with your songs.
Oh, definitely. I've got to make a conscious effort to shut up, man. I'll lose my voice if I keep gassing. Like, I'll talk to somebody until until I'm red in the face, you know. Like,
yeah, you'll talk to strangers, talk to cab drivers. Are you one of them?
Well, I kind of now I'm probably the quietest I've ever been in my life, because I have to look after my voice.
Yes, of course, because talking is actually worse for people than singing, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. But I've got it. But I was really hyperactive as a kid, like proper. You couldn't calm us down.
Yeah, me too.
My parents used to think it was blue smarties and stuff like that, but I was absolutely mental. I was crackers, and I was fearless as well. Like I would talk to anybody. My dad still to this day, he said, like, I did an audition for a TV show when I was 15, like a little acting audition for this TV show in set in the northeast, ITV, and I remember like my dad didn't know where to go, and I was just like out the car, like kicking doors through, going like, where's this interview? Like, where's this audition? And my dad's just kind of like, oh god. And my dad's dead shy. I'm like, I don't know where I come from. They picked up the wrong baby, I think, because I've never been. As I get older, I've kind of become more self-conscious, and I think you get a little bit quieter.
Yeah.
I'm still a noisy.
Yeah. No, we're very similar in that respect.
Well, thank you very much. I think it's important. It's important for me to rip myself and put a bit of humour in between my songs, because a lot of my songs are quite dour. So if I don't put a couple of jokes in, like, I think you'll have a few people will be like crying their eyes out. Like,
but don't worry, you're no Lewis Capaldi.
Bless him. You heard that, Lewis?
Bless him. He sat in the same chair. I love the guy. Absolutely love him.
Top lad.
Oh man,
he's a lovely boy.
Yeah,
Critics' Choice loser.
He makes the world a better place, definitely.
He definitely does, and I think he's kind of broke the mold of pop stars as well. Like, he's not doing that. He's kind of, because he's not like the classic pop star, and he's just very, very self-deprecating and funny. It makes normal people connect with it so much more than anything I've seen.
Absolutely, yeah. Not blessed with cheekbones that you can slice paper with. He's done incredible. He's done incredibly well.
What cheekbones like?
All right, so cracking on now because we've got to get on.
Yeah.
We're at track 10 now.
Yes,
of 13, I think. Two people we're at now. You said this was an old one as well.
Yes, really old.
So
that vocal was done 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
And I kept the same vocal. You can hear it because I sing slightly differently on it.
Yeah.
It's like me a bit more. It's a bit more naive. And maybe he's even a bit more affected.
Well, there's a word there that you've just used, naive. Now, this doesn't feel like a naive record at all. Like a lot of debut albums, even definitely maybe some of my favourite debut albums, there is a naivety to them.
I think there is a naivety.
Well, you're very close to it, but I think if you take a helicopter view to Sam Fender and to this record, I think that there is a real maturity to it. It doesn't feel like a debut. It feels like a second record or third record to me.
Wait until you hear the second.
Okay. Well, I accept that these things are all relative.
That's very kind of you, Eddie.
I'm just saying what I feel, same as I did with Matty. But this song, Two People, it must be very strong live. I can't remember. Did you play it in your incredible residency that you did in that lovely venue that's owned by the O'Meara, by Ben from
Mumford.
From Mumford. Yeah. Yeah. Did you play that? Did you do that?
Did do it, yeah.
Yeah.
I was doing Two People around that time.
Yeah. Just you and your guitar, kind of break. The band can take a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a powerful moment.
I do that sometimes. I wrote that song when I was about 19. That's one of the oldest songs on the record. That and Call Me Lover are really old. It's about it's about domestic violence, and about a young couple who had a kid very young and kind of on the bones of their arse and are struggling. But there's violence involved, and it's pretty nasty, and it's kind of it's fictional, like. But I could, where I used to live, I'd heard things through the walls, because the flat that we lived in with my mum was, the walls are keep paper thin, so you can hear everything on the left side. Hear the neighbours on the left, you can hear the neighbours on the right, and you can hear the neighbours upstairs. And I had my neighbours, because I was such a noisy with my guitar. Yeah. They hated us.
Of course.
But them, because I had a job to do, right? You know what I mean? And they moved out every year. Like, my neighbours were like Defence Against the Dark Arts teachers in Harry Potter. Like, they never lasted longer than a year. There'd be a new one each because of that. And I eventually got a couple that I really, really liked, who are my friends now, but I haven't seen them in ages because they moved away. So that was mad. And but yeah, you'd hear things like, so, you know, if you heard a couple having an argument, you could hear everything, you could hear every word. Yeah. But and there was times where I had neighbours that you could hear things getting smashed up, and you could hear people. I could hear things going on, like you know, violence and stuff like that. And
that was stressful.
And so I kind of like, I'd heard that before, and not just that. There was like there's everyone's kind of knows stories of. In everybody's hometown, there's always stories of domestic violence, and essentially it's just about kids having kids. You know what I mean? It's about two young parents that are struggling, and it's about the kind of the turmoil within the relationship, and that's what it's about, really. It's not much more. There isn't much more to it. Yeah. But I think the most sort of important line is kind of probably in the chorus, when I'm saying you just sit there burning, lying in his fire, like. About her being sort of trapped in this, in the how they say that toxic relationships become almost there's like an addiction element to the abuser in a weird way, where there's loads of, you always see that when somebody's being abused by somebody, they always go back, but I don't know the full psychology of it because I'm not eloquent enough to tell you, but it was essentially about that, and and the end of it being the two people under bed sheets, two children raising children, the same mistakes keep building, it's a mess of a one-horse town. And that was the kind of just the finish off line, you know.
Yeah.
There's thousands of them stories all over, you know.
Yeah, there was a headphones moment that I had last night with this track, and I'm not sure where it is, but in two places in the song, maybe it's post-chorus, you hold a note perfectly, and then there's this beautiful backing vocal that just runs right behind it, just one note, and it's just really lovely.
In the distance,
yeah,
it sounds like in the background.
Yeah, it's lovely.
I'm screaming into a pickup.
Is that what you're doing?
So what we did for that, me and Dino did it in the shed. My guitarist, Dean and Tom Bramwell, were in the shed, and Dean's got this. He bought this hollow body silver tone guitar, which is a guitar from the 60s. They don't make them anymore, and they've got these proper live, really responsive pickups. Obviously because it's a hollow body as well. Feedback's awful with them things. And we just had it on, and I just literally had it on my lap, and I was having a bad day, and I just started screaming at it, and you can hear it, my voice is breaking, so I'm like screaming right into this pickup, and then we got the sound of that, and then it sounded mad, and we just sort of put a big reverb on it, and we're like, Christ, that sounds class in the background. So
fantastic. That's great. I love those little
it's
stories.
Quite Atlantic. It's quite Atlantic City.
Yeah.
If you hear Atlantic City by Bruce Springsteen, he does that. He's like, there's these big sort of big screams in the background.
Oh yeah.
So kind of. I think I was subconsciously nicking that.
So, yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Well, let's crack on. Okay. So, Call Me Lover.
Yes.
Now this has a fragile start.
Yes.
But my God, it kicks off.
Yeah.
That kick drum is massive, reverby, big reverby kick drum.
Yeah.
And then you've got strings creeping in.
Yeah.
For the first time, I think, on the record.
Will we talk?
Oh, okay. Second time. But still, but I did think you could have gone down the strings road very easily, but you didn't. You made the record sound epic without strings. That's a tough call. That's something Springsteen, of course, is really good at.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is massive. So tell me about this one.
So this song, I wrote this when I was like 19, and it's a song about infidelity, and being young and daft, really.
Yeah.
But, being caught in an adult sort of relationship at a very young age. Loosely based on experiences I had when I was 19.
Yeah.
When I was a total. That's it. It's a love song. It's a song about. It's essentially a song about like a really, really fleeting romance that I had when I was 19.
Yeah.
And it's really over dramatic and naive and daft, and that's but it's a song that I've had fans that have been like asking for it for years as well.
Yeah.
So people are like going like, I want that Call Me Lover song, what that one, because it's just an earworm. It gets stuck in your head.
Yeah.
People were like coming out of gigs when I like years ago, even before I had the band, before I'd released Play God, I used to play this in buskers nights and stuff, and people would sing it back to us. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like, and it was the first song I'd ever wrote where I was like, oh, this is a bit of like a sing along song. So I kind of felt like a duty to put it on this record, because I want the first record to be the chronicling of that journey from 18 to here to 25. I wanted to kind of cover all of them moments, even the like really embryonic moments like Call Me Lover and that, because I feel there's a duty to do that for the people that have supported us since then. So that is what this album is. If anything, I feel like it's like a gift to the people who backed us, because you know, I've had fans that have followed us when I had like no followers. You know what I mean? I had a couple hundred followers, and I've still got diehards from them times 5 years ago.
And they, of course, all love Leave Fast.
Yeah.
Which is that's sort of like real special moment. That's like when Tom York just comes on and does Creep with an acoustic guitar. You know, that's your moment, isn't it? It's
my I think it's that song that the audience properly. As soon as I sing it, the whole audience will sing along like it's lush. It's the first time I ever had a full like whole song. Everyone knows all the words, sort of sing along.
And was there an old man who told you that?
There was. I don't know who he was. He was just an old bloke in the pub that I was chatting to, and then I heard somebody say it like off the back of someone else's conversation in the pub as well, and then I heard and then I read it somewhere as well, in like an interview about the top 10 worst towns in the country to live in or something, and I think it was for Sunderland or for Middlesbrough, and someone said leave fast or stay forever, and I was like, that's just, as soon as I seen it on paper as well, I was like, that's a line, that. So I wrote a song, and it's just about the claustrophobia of being 18 and not knowing what you want to do with your life and being stuck in your hometown. I think everybody has it when they're a teenager, you know what I mean? It's that thing of not knowing what you want and hating the place that you grew up in because it's too familiar. I mean, ironically, I love where I live now, like, and I'm dying to get back because I travel all the time. You know, I'm been all over the world now. So I'm sitting.
And where do you live now?
I still live in Shields.
Good man.
I'm not left. I'm
Excellent.
not left, and I don't feel a need to leave. I love home, and I love the people. And I love the pub.
And what would you say if you bumped into him again, this man, the old man?
Thanks for the tune, mate. Thanks for that banging line. Leave faster, stay forever, man. I'm getting these kids getting it tattooed and that now, man. It's mad.
Oh man,
it's mad. But like, I get, as I say, it's like I'm staying forever. Funnily enough, but I think most people have that when they're from. You know, if you're not like from London or whatever. Actually, you probably still get it even when you grew up in London. Especially, you probably feel like
I just want to be in the country.
Yeah, totally.
I spent most of my life in London. I just want to be in the country.
Yeah, well, you probably do. You probably actually want to escape more than people from Shields.
Yeah, I think the grass is always greener.
Yeah, totally.
So, I didn't have an actual album. I've got a list of like a stream because I've got it obviously before it's out. So the last track on my list kind of thing was it was a live track. It said use live from London. I don't know whether it was like, is that a hidden track or is that?
No, it's called use.
That's
use live from Camden. Yeah.
Oh, I got you.
Live in Camden Assembly.
Right. Okay. And you've come down to a piano on that one.
Yeah.
And you've absolutely nailed it.
Oh, thank you.
You've absolutely nailed it.
It's all live. We didn't touch anything on it. We kept all the mistakes in. There's even the bum notes in, and you can hear like I'm going flat and I'm not singing perfectly. I was in the middle of a tour, and you can hear my voice is a bit husky as well.
Rare for you to go flat, Sam.
No, but I do go flat because I'm human. You know what I mean? There's a lot of tuning these days. Like everyone tunes their vocals, like even live.
Yeah.
And it really freaks us out, man. I'm like, when I was a kid, I used to love. I understand using tuning as like an effect.
Yeah.
But when it's just on everything, it's like it kind of takes away that dynamic and that human thing.
Takes the soul out of it.
I love it. I love seeing my favourite singers do a little bum note.
Yeah.
Because then it makes the 15-year-old kids in the crowd go, I can do that.
Yeah.
Because he's human and I'm human and I make mistakes, I can do that. Like, it makes it easier to achieve, you know what I mean, in kids' imagination.
Warts and all. As Mike Skinner would always say, warts and all. It's like, keep it real, you know. Totally. It's like that's it. I'm so glad that you've said that.
So yeah, there's that on the end, and there's loads of, it's really, really delicate, and it's a song that I wrote years ago again.
And how did you want to leave people? Was this a very deliberate thing to put use there at the end and to have it live?
It's a total the haters song. Like, yeah, I wanted. Again, it was one of them things. It was just like I very much pride myself and the boys in my band on being good live. So I thought, let's put a little live track at the end, just to kind of show that I can.
It's real.
I mean, like,
yeah, this is real.
I'm by no stretch a pianist as well, and you can hear that on the record, because I'm like, there's parts of me timing's a bit, and I'm like I'm plonking away, like not really kind of. I'm not the best pianist by a long stretch, but that's what I like about it, and I just remember coming off stage after that gig and being like, that was a decent. It was like it felt good, you know what I mean, and that was before I'd signed, and that I remember it was like there was a load of labels in the room, and it was like really exciting, and I was like, you know, I was a young lad, like full of dreams, and I was on that. It was a really kind of pivotal moment, like where I knew that something my life was going to change, you know what I mean? So when you can hear that in there, you can hear I'm singing like it's my last night on earth. And I met Doctor Who outside after the gig as well. You know Matt Smith?
Matt Smith?
Yeah.
He was there?
He was, and I went over to him and I was like, Matt Smith, because I'm a pure dork, mate. Like, I love Star Wars and Doctor Who and all that.
Yeah.
And I was like, Matt Smith, I was like, you're class, you. And he was like, don't do it. And I was like, can I? And he was like, don't do it. And I went, can I get a photo? And he went, oh, you. So I was just like,
oh God, well.
But he was really nice. He was really sweet.
Oh, that's nice to hear. So finally, and we've finished on U's live in Camden. Your tour. I predicted after I saw you play at Latitude, summer before last. I said to my boss and to anyone who would listen, Sam Fender will sell out the Brixton Academy by this time next year.
Yeah.
And you've done it twice. You've done it twice.
Yes,
You've sold out the whole tour, and you're adding dates. You've done how many nights at Newcastle Academy? 3?
4.
4.
I've done 4.
This must feel great.
It's not. We broke a record with the Academy as well. Just mad. It's just nuts. Yeah, it was mad.
And Tynemouth Castle in minutes.
Yeah, that was the fastest record sellout for that as well. But I mean, for Newcastle, obviously, it's because but the thing is, when something happens in Newcastle, like the town gets behind it.
Yeah, of course,
of course. People are proud.
That's wonderful.
It's lush.
Well, the one last thing that I have to confess is that I've made a promise on Virgin Radio, and I'm being held to it. I said if your album doesn't go to number 1, that I would present an hour of anthems naked. Now, Gary Lineker made a promise that, didn't he make a promise that if Leicester won the league, he would do Match of the Day in his pants? Of course, that was the BBC, but we're not the BBC, so I've promised to go start naked. So I'm counting on you, mate. I'm counting on you.
I hope I do it, mate.
I'm counting on you. There's an Ed Sheeran best of, apparently, and Goo Goo Dolls album.
Yeah.
So everyone, can you just buy the Ed Sheeran one the week after? It's a very cold studio. It's a very cold studio. I'm not kidding. It's freezing in there.
Well, I've promised. I've also, on top of this, just to give anyone any more incentive, I've promised to jump in the River Tyne if we get a number 1 and cover Barbie Girl at the same time. So I mean, if that gives you any more incentive to do it.
All right, well, so we've got plenty of incentive. Sam, absolute joy to meet you. Thank you for taking us through your record. I think we're beyond handshakes. Bring it in. Oh, good man.
The Chris Evans Breakfast Show and the best music. Virgin Radio.